Something unusual is happening inside the FIA, and it might shake up motorsports leadership in a way nobody expected. The current president, Ben Salam, could be facing his biggest challenge yet, not from a rival racer, but from someone who used to work under him. That's right. Tim Meyer, a former F1 race steward, is stepping up to take his shot at the top seat. And this isn't just a small political move. This could completely shift the way things operate at the highest level. But there's more going on than just a simple leadership bid. The role of FIA president has become one of the most controversial positions in the sport, and for good reason. Over time, a long list of disputes, disagreements, and firings have piled up under Ben's leadership. People inside and outside the organization are questioning the direction it's going in. The fact that Carlos Sainz Sr., a respected name in the racing world, pulled his name from the list of potential candidates says a lot. He had strong beliefs about making things better, but his sudden withdrawal left many wondering what went on behind the scenes now. With Sainz Sr. stepping away, all eyes are on Tim Meyer. What makes this even more intense is that Meyer was once dismissed by the same organization he now wants to lead. That alone tells you how personal and bold this move is. He's not just running for the sake of power. According to him, he wants to fix what's broken. He believes things are getting worse under the current management, and if no one acts, motorsports governing system could lose even more credibility. Meyer has openly said that. Ben Salam doesn't like it when someone pushes back, and he's not the only one saying this. Multiple former top-level staff members who were fired have voiced the same frustration. They all claim that speaking up was what cost them their positions. That's a serious red flag. Tim Meyer's motivation isn't just based on personal history, it's tied to a bigger concern about how the FIA is operating today. When asked why he wants to take over, Meyer didn't hold back. He pointed out that Ben Salam came into the role with a lot of strong promises. Fairness for smaller clubs, better transparency, and a clear plan for improvement. But according to Meyer, none of those ideas actually became reality. Instead of progress, what people got was a well-polished illusion, something that looked good from a distance, but had little substance when you looked closer. One of Meyer's biggest arguments is that the leadership gave people the feeling that change was happening, when in truth, most of it was for show. A number of key officials, the same ones brought in by Ben Salam himself, have left their roles. That alone raises serious questions. Why are so many experienced people walking away? If things were really improving, wouldn't they want to stay? Another major point Meyer brings up is the way the FIA manages its finances. Yes, the organization's money situation has reportedly gotten better, but Meyer reminds everyone of one simple fact. The FIA is a non-profit. It's not supposed to operate like a business trying to impress shareholders. And when you think about how much Formula One's popularity and income has grown in recent years, it's hard to say how much of that success was due to leadership decisions, and how much was simply the sport booming on its own. He wants to change what he calls a system of fear, where people feel they can't speak openly. The problem, according to him, goes even deeper with how the internal meetings are handled. Confidentiality agreements have been used in such a way that important conversations are being silenced. In his own case, he believes he was pushed out for simply doing his job, overseeing and questioning processes that he thought weren't right. Meyer says that several FIA Senate members were removed just because they were doing their duty, asking the hard questions. That's why he believes it's not just time for a new leader, but for a completely new approach. The situation within the FIA isn't just drawing criticism from candidates like Meyer. Even some of the sport's most well-known figures have voiced their frustration, including drivers. One of the most vocal among them has been Lewis Hamilton. He made it very clear that he's lost all respect for Ben Salam after the way the governing body handled an incident involving Susie Wolff. To give some context, Susie was the subject of an investigation related to a potential conflict of interest with her husband, Toto Wolff. It was a highly sensitive topic, and the way it was managed sparked outrage across the sport. The investigation was dropped almost as quickly as it was started, without any solid evidence being presented. For someone like Susie, who's dedicated years to motorsports, this whole situation left a mark that many felt was completely unfair. The damage wasn't just to her reputation, it affected the credibility of the FIA itself. Then there's another controversial moment involving Ben Salam, his public comments during discussions about a possible sale of Formula One. When a investment fund made a major offer to purchase F1's media rights, Liberty Media turned it down. That decision was theirs to make. But Ben Salam went a step further and criticized the move, claiming the sport's value was being overstated by its current owners. While some might think it was just a personal opinion, his statement actually had a wider effect. Investors started to question what was really going on. The sport's future suddenly seemed uncertain, not because of poor performance on the track, but because of off-track statements from someone who wasn't even directly involved in that side of the business. Situations like these are the reason Tim Meyer feels so strongly about changing the current leadership. He sees too many moments where decisions are made behind closed doors or personal opinions interfere with professional matters. According to him, This isn't how a global governing body should operate, especially not one responsible for the safety, fairness, and structure of international motorsports. There's another issue that stirred up plenty of debate: the introduction of penalties for strong language used by drivers during and after races. Max Verstappen, among others, openly criticized this move. His stance was simple: drivers are under immense pressure during races, and expecting them to filter every word while in the heat of the moment is unrealistic. These are grown professionals, not children. If they can't speak their mind, then where's the freedom? This disagreement quickly turned into a wider discussion involving several team principals and drivers, all questioning whether the FIA was becoming too strict and out of touch. On the other side of this argument stood Ben Salam, who eventually admitted that perhaps things had been taken too far. He suggested that there might need to be more tolerance toward emotional reactions during high-pressure moments. This partial shift in tone came across to many as a sign that he was trying to hold on to his position, or perhaps that he had already realized he couldn't defend his earlier stance convincingly. Tim Meyer points to situations like this to highlight what he believes is a lack of transparency and real communication within the organization. For him, these aren't isolated incidents, they're part of a larger pattern. He says the FIA today is more focused on presenting an image than actually improving how things work behind the scenes. He didn't mince words when discussing this. He called it the illusion of inclusion. According to Meyer, the few people who dared to challenge decisions, especially women and individuals from underrepresented groups, were quietly shown the door. He also criticized the way the organization claimed to have made financial improvements when, in his view, the numbers simply returned to what they were before the pandemic. The difference, he argues, is that now there's less outside oversight keeping things in check. He believes that any system where disagreement is punished and decisions are made by just a few individuals at the top is bound to fail, and that's what he wants to change. To Meyer, it's not only about fixing a few policies, it's about shifting the entire culture inside the FIA to one that encourages open conversation, welcomes criticism, and values people for their ideas rather than their loyalty. Looking at Tim Meyer's past, you'd think someone with his experience would have been treated with a bit more respect by the organization he served for so long. But when the FIA decided to let him go, it was done with just a short message, a text, not even a formal meeting. The official explanation was a conflict of interest. Meyer's family ties to motorsport are well known. His father, Teddy Meyer, helped build McLaren into what it is today. Tim, on the other hand, had been serving in a non-promoter role, working as a sporting official and helping manage race procedures in the United States. He was also one of the stewards present during the U.S. Grand Prix incident, where fans entered the track before they were supposed to. But for many, the timing of his dismissal felt suspicious, as if it had more to do with his views than with his actual conduct, of course. Critics say this entire campaign of his is driven by personal revenge. But Meyer has made it clear that this is not about getting even. In his own words, he's here because he believes the organization deserves better leadership. His focus, he says, is on restoring trust, fairness, and communication. The stewards, he reminds everyone, are volunteers, people who give their time and effort because they care about the sport, and that's what drives him to still. There's uncertainty surrounding who will actually stand with Meyer if this campaign gains momentum. One name that came up early was Robert Reid, former deputy president for sport, but Meyer shut down that rumor, stating that while Reid had offered advice, he was not part of the official team. If Meyer wants to win, he'll need to present a full leadership lineup, including deputy presidents for mobility and sport, and a new president of the Senate. He hasn't revealed those names yet, but he's confident in the support he's already received, especially from voices inside the paddock. George Russell, director of the GPDA, is one of those voices. He's had his share of disagreements with the FIA during Ben Salam's time and has pushed for more input from drivers, but instead of being heard, he was told point blank, "We don't ask you when you change something in your team, so don't ask us." That sort of dismissive attitude is exactly what many want to change. As the next season approaches and rule changes loom, this leadership contest is shaping up to be more than just politics. It might just decide the future tone of the entire sport. So, now the question stands, is Tim Meyer the right person to take the reins of the FIA? Or would someone like Carlos Sainz Sr., who was once in the running, have been a better option? Whatever your thoughts may be, one thing is clear: change is no longer a suggestion, it's a need.